And welcome. We're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy. I don't know. I always get confused. Now I think we're now we're online on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal discussion about Star Trek. But today we are having a Starfleet Boys log episode, or Captain's log, if I may. And I'm joined by Gary. Hello.
Hello. Nice to be here again.
Nice to see you. Thanks for. It's pretty late over, and
Almost 9.
yeah, it's almost like 9 o'clock. Yeah, so we appreciate you being on. What is it again? Section 31's in London, according to
the Kelvin timeline,
Kelvin
yes.
timeline, which as we know, we did one day wake up in the Kelvin timeline and.
And it's still happening.
It's still happening. Don't worry, the temporal agency is on the prowl. They're trying to fix everything as fast as they can. Some of us, unfortunately, will retain memories of this unfortunate timeline.
I hope this is just a part of a temporal time war or something. Cold War.
A temporal Cold War. I like that. So this is your first Starfleet Boys log. The last one was very casual and very informal, so I want to kind of keep it the same. So pretty much we have a few topics that we'll talk about, but it's open to talk about anything. And I guess I'll get started by saying, first of all, to anyone who's new to Starfleet Boy, welcome. This is and the best way to I recommend the best way to do it is you watch the Star Trek The Next Generation episode up to season 3. We're not quite finished yet. And then you go back and you watch our discussion, or if you've already seen it before and you're just curious what a couple of nerds think. Oh, we have Gul DuSkat. Hello.
Oh my God.
Hello.
Wow. It's how do you do, Gul DuSkat?
I do well. How do you do?
I do well as well. I was just going over what Starfleet Boy is all about for any new audience members. We don't have a lot of new.
What is Starfleet Boy all about?
It's a casual and informal discussion about Star Trek, and currently we're focused on Star Trek The Next Generation. So tune in, tell us what you think, and we'd love to hear your thoughts and have your participation as well. Also, subscribe, share, comment, rate, all those good. And I sometimes it's nice to have both of you on, because I'm not on Gary's show yet, but he has a show called Trekkerprise. But I'm gonna be. I won't give it away. And then Gul DuSkat,
It's a secret. What it's about is a secret.
No, his show
Super secret. No.
His show is about more than just Star Trek. It's about Star Trek, science fiction in general, Doctor Who, anything that's related to science fiction, right, Gary?
I wouldn't have been able to sum it more. Well done, mister.
And your show's a lot more fun, I think, than mine, because of the cool music that you have in the background.
Oh yeah, it's always flashy and it's lightning and it's cool, but yeah, I'll try.
So there, the real reason comes out. So Hale, why you were keeping it secret is because it's better than your show, and you don't.
Oh yeah, no, that's not a
No.
secret. That's not a secret. It is better than Starfleet Boy, and you should definitely go check it out. And speaking of another show that's better than Starfleet Boy, Gul DuSkat occasionally hosts, once in a while, quarterly, annually, whenever he wants, Drunk Space 9.
Ooh.
When I'm drunk. See, I'm not a big drinker. That's the problem. So I don't do it very often because I don't drink very often.
No, and one of our missions on Drunk Space 9 is to not become alcoholics. So I actually appreciate that you have that.
Which is a pretty dumb mission for a show where we're drinking all the time.
I think we can do it.
Might be the dumbest concept of any show ever.
Hey, a lot of people seem to like it.
Not counting the new Star Trek Discovery.
Well, okay, let's go right into Star Trek Discovery. I wanted to.
Do we have to?
No, we don't. But if you're not on a time crunch, I do want you to talk about the Star Trek Deep Space Nine doc, if you know anything about it, or if you have any.
Okay, well, I'm not under a time crunch, but I'm just warning you. The minute this gets boring or not as good as Trekkerprise, I'm going right back to watching Smallville.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, there is some crazy shit going on. Lana and Lex got married, and he
Whoa.
impregnated her with some weird. I don't know. Anyway, DS9 documentary. I really don't know that much about.
Well, I'm gonna let our resident expert here, Gary, fill us in on the DS9.
Boy, big expectation to live up to. So basically, this is a Indiegogo campaign. It started out a couple of months ago, maybe a little bit more. What We Leave Behind, that's the name of the project, and Ira Steven Burr and Adam Nimoy as well, actually the one who participated with the project, and they sort of wanted to do a like a documentary about DS9 plus a studio conversation as well. What could be the season 8 writers' room, these sort of things. And they reached the minimum for the campaign, but now they're looking for actually HD. Oh, there you go. Now they're looking for $500,000 to actually reach the limit for having HD scenes used for this documentary from the show. So they try to remaster those scenes what they want to use for the show, which is quite interesting actually, and it raises a couple of questions like, do we gonna get DS9 in HD or not, or that's that? But apparently, according to CBS, we won't get anything. But still, it's an interesting, and a lot of as you see in the screen, a lot of people, a lot of Star Trek actors participating as well, and they also donated a little amount of money to make this documentary happen. So it's quite an interesting project, and I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, so far that's what I have.
So yeah, basically, Scott, there's a documentary about DS9, but the cool thing that Gary was the thing that I find the coolest is they're going to actually remaster some key scenes from Deep Space Nine to present in the documentary.
Do we know which scenes those are?
No, not yet. I don't think so.
No, not yet.
But it
Do we
looks
get
like
to vote on those scenes?
I guess I don't know. We're gonna have to go to the Indiegogo page here, which I'm showing on the screen at the moment, and I think you and I will have to really dive into this and maybe talk about it when we resume Drunk Space Nine. But yeah, it's kind of exciting.
We're gonna resume Drunk Space Nine.
I don't. That's you're out of control. I think it's really cool that Adam Nimoy is behind this because I really like the For the Love of Spock documentary. Did you see that, guys?
No,
I haven't yet.
Well, when you're done with your Smallville binge, maybe you can check it.
I'm not into stuff that's gonna make me cry. All right,
I know
that documentary is gonna make me cry.
You're gonna.
I'm not into it.
You're gonna
That's
have.
why I skip all the episodes where like Lana and Clark break up or are having problems. I don't watch them because I don't want to cry.
You cried on Deep Space Nine. You confessed
Never.
it. No, you can. I just heard on an episode the other day. I was re-listening.
When did I confess?
I'll have to go back, and Database Girl's not around right now, so I can't really.
Right. It's possible I was lying. So.
It is possible. You do lie a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you saw pretty
For
much
dramatic effect.
pretty much everyone is involved with this project, but I didn't see Avery Brooks on the list.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wonder why this
What do you
could
make
be.
of that?
I don't know. I guess that was the first thing I went to look for in the cast photos here of who's involved in this project, and it looks like Avery Brooks is not involved. Maybe he's moved on from being Captain Sisko, and he doesn't want to go back.
I don't know.
That could be actually, because I don't know how you guys attending conventions or so. I would love to attend more, but it's not really regular in London and in England in general. But I was watching a couple of convention footage online, and he was there, 5 Captains in 2014. Yeah, a couple of years ago actually, and he was there in one convention, and they asked him questions, but he just said no, yes. And sometimes he said like 2 or 3 sentences, but he wasn't really engaging with the whole convention. So I think he, as you said, Sohail said, I'm pretty sure he moved on. He doesn't really want. Just like Patrick Stewart,
Interesting.
he shows up every now and then, but I don't think they will do anything
Well,
with Star Trek anymore.
It's disheartening to hear that he just kind of that you felt that Avery Brooks was just kind of like coasting through. But Patrick Stewart does actually apparently give a great show when he's on.
I've seen it. I've seen it live.
Where did you? Was that at
Las Vegas a couple years ago?
That's right.
Yeah.
What was that? Oh my gosh, you've been in the presence.
But can I just say that Avery Brooks? That's so sad that he disavows Star Trek because he really would. There is no better guest to have on Drunk Space Nine.
I know. Well, maybe Drunk Space Nine.
We know after his DUI that he's confirmed as a drinker.
I didn't realize that. I didn't know about the DUI.
He's the perfect guest for us.
Oh no, he would probably be great to kind of keep us from becoming alcoholics. Like that.
No, I don't want to have a serious conversation about the dangers of drinking. Listen, we just get him on, we get him drunk, but we don't ask about the DUI. Like that's not cool to do. We just,
so
tap dance our way around it.
That's true. So on this Indiegogo campaign, Scott, I know you like the big bundle. The big bundles, like cut to the chase. What do I get if I donate money to the Indiegogo, right? So for $625, which I think is, if you're a mega fan, that's a pretty reasonable amount of money to pay, and it might be
for what? What is this? An Indiegogo for what?
For the DS9 documentary. So
what's Indiegogo?
It's how you can contribute to that's how they're funding this whole documentary.
It's like Patreon.
Okay.
Yeah, they're collecting money from
okay, you have to talk to me like someone who never uses the internet.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. So $625, you can get the Las Vegas convention bundle.
So wait, this is all right. Go ahead. So $625.
Yep. Thinking of attending Star Trek Las Vegas 2017, which is August 2 to 6. Get in on this general admission weekend package to the con, plus one-of-a-kind DS9 swag bag with certified cast autographs and more. Finally, attend a private meet and greet with cast members and film team, an exclusive on-site event with first look clips from the documentary, standalone perk. So that includes. So items include a digital stream, general admission package, autograph swag bag, DS9 meet and greet, and the other two things that it's not.
Well,
loading.
All right. So that's the big. I need a precise list of whose autographs I'm getting and all that shit because, that's where the real value. If it's like 2 of them, then that's not a good deal.
But
true. If it's like 8 of them, then it's a great deal.
That's true. We don't know who's in the private DS9 meet and greet yet, but I'm sure even still.
How private is that, by the way? Is it you and 30,000 other people who paid for it? Or is it you in a room with them and then for how long? This is very vague on details.
I could tell
I'm not throwing down $600.
I can tell you right now that there's only going to be 50 of these packages offered, and only 14 have been claimed so far. So that's how private it'll be. It won't be like so on and so forth. But anyways,
this doesn't excite me. Listen, just make a documentary that I can watch, okay?
That's what they're already doing.
Okay.
They're already doing. You're already gonna get that.
All right, that's all I really want. I just want to watch the document. I don't want to. I don't know. I'm not into donating money, and like if I want to do Las Vegas, I'll figure it out.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna contribute whatever the minimum is to get the pin set. That looks
a pin set. What's the minimum?
I don't know yet. I gotta find out. Let's see here. Oh, for all backers, $5 and up will include access to production. Nope. If you're really itching for a limited edition collectible item, check out our higher tier reward for autographed memorabilia, VIP screenings, and more. It doesn't. I don't know. I gotta look at the site. There's so many different tiers.
$25.
Oh, there you go. $25. That's totally reasonable for a set.
And you can get Captain Sisko, Kiro, Brian, Worf, and Ezra Dex.
Oh,
nice.
They're pins.
They're little pins. Yeah, I'll show you a picture. Let's open this image. And here's a little.
Oh, I have to look at my screen, don't I?
Here you go.
Okay, hold on.
There's the pin set.
I don't see anything.
You really don't see it?
No.
Oh, well, I'll send it to you later, Scott. There's a pin set 1, a pin set 2, and a bonus Garrick pin. So.
Oh, Garrick.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Is there a Gul DuSkat pin?
No.
Why not?
That should be our next mission, is to get a Gul DuSkat pin made. So that's the DS9 dock. I'm actually
I'm excited to see it.
Good.
So not to give them my money.
I'm excited to give them at least $25. I don't know about the Las Vegas package. That might be out of my price range, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get a nice windfall of money this year. But it's exciting. I think it's cool that this documentary is being funded. I'm excited about the fact that any scene can, because there's this whole thing like, why can't, CBS is saying it's too expensive to remaster it. But I talked about this on a previous episode of Starfleet Boy. If it was crowdfunded, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Like, what if there's a lot of, computer graphics artists out there that would be willing to,
But it is crowdfunded. It's crowdfunded after the fact when we buy it, when they sell it. And we buy it. That's how. Right. I mean, that's how crowd. Like, I don't know.
I guess
I'm raging against this new economic model where we have to give people our money just to make us things that we're then going to pay them for to buy afterwards. Why can't we go back to the old way where people make things and then we buy it and that's it? They don't ask us to help them fund it.
The thing is if you do fund it, you get a copy of the documentary anyways. So it's I think it's cool. I like it because it's kind of like a good way to know what the excitement level about an idea is. Like sometimes, the way that they're handling this, it's like all along the process, they're going to be giving you updates about the documentary. And, for example, right now we know who's involved with the project and that's exciting and things like that. So, and
it's not just that, even the feeling to know, okay, you contributed to the making of this documentary, to contribute to something what you actually can see after all. And it's like, oh yeah, they made a good use out of my money. I think it's a good feeling after all.
And not everyone gets that joy from that. Obviously, Scott.
I'm a cranky old man.
You're still very young.
No, like I feel like if I contribute money to something, maybe it's because I'm an accountant and this is just how I think. But if I contribute to something that is a money-making endeavor, then I should be getting a piece of that on the other end. You know what I mean? Like I own a percentage of whatever.
You mean like
that's how I think about it.
You get like if you gave $5,
you get shares in the company. That's what you give someone money for, and then you hope to get something back from it. But
I mean, the thing is I guess that's true. But like a $5 contribution would probably get a penny or two, over how many ever purchases.
So be it.
Documentary. So I think that
and that's why you would never make that investment because it's silly.
Yeah, but I think like if you have $100,000 to invest in something like this, then you just circumvent the Indiegogo and you go in as a producer. For example, you approach these guys and you're like, "Hey, I want to contribute." Like,
right? You mean the way it's always been done?
Right, and I'm sure
it's always been done.
But
yes, that's correct.
But I'm
and then for taking that risk and putting out that money and doing this thing, then you get to make whatever money back the thing makes.
Right, but the thing is that in this way, and we're not going to spend too much time on this, but in this way, they've already.
You know what? I feel like we should, because I feel like I'm getting angry about this because I feel like it's a way of preying off of fans, of sucking us dry even more.
But you're not. No, because you don't have to. You're a fan, and you're not going to contribute. So yeah. I feel like you have full
exactly.
license.
But then I see other people contributing, and it makes me feel bad for the people who are being taken advantage of.
Don't feel bad for people who are doing what they want.
Maybe it's because I'm sitting here doing tax returns all day and I'm seeing all the money people are losing.
That is sad. Yeah. You have a unique perspective, I would say, from this group of people here.
An alternative perspective.
You're beating me to all the zingers.
An alt-right. I have an alt-right. I am alternatively. Anyway.
Alt Cardassian. Yeah. Well, anyways,
sorry to be cranky old man on the Starfleet boy.
No, you're good. That's why we love
Starfleet old man.
So DS9 Doc, what would you like to?
Back in my day, they didn't even make documentaries about TV shows.
It's true, they didn't. Is there a Buck Rogers documentary? Did you watch Buck Rogers?
Probably not.
Did anyone here watch Buck Rogers?
No,
why
have you done that?
It is. Oh wow. All right. Anyways, what would you like to? What is a question in your minds that you'd love to hear answered on the DS9 Doc? Like, what would be something interesting that?
Why is Stephen Ira Bear's mustache purple? That's the only thing I want to know.
I think we can find that out from Twitter. I bet. Here, let's Google that one. Is it purple? I've seen it. I thought it was.
What
like
question
blue.
do you want answered?
Yeah, Gary, I'll answer last.
Oh, yeah.
What question are you doing?
Always has to go last. Always has to have the final word.
No. I would like to know, Gary, do you have...
Gary hasn't gone yet.
I know.
Oh, gosh.
Gary goes, then you go. We just established that.
All right. So from my perspective, I would definitely love to know what happened with Cisco. And there's going to be apparently there's going to be a writer session room for the season 8. They're going to spec it out or something that's going to happen in the documentary. And I would love to know what happened with Cisco after the last episode. Also, what happened with Odo and the end of the episode. And what's up with Ezri and Dr. Bashir? Or is Worf still related to DS9? Or is he's in Kronos now? So these little things, what I would really love to know what happened with them, or even what's with the Dominion. I'm pretty sure they went back, or I don't know. There's some still rebellions, Jem'Hadars. They want to, I don't know, fight.
So you're referring to this mythical season? There was a season 8 planned, or something?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
How do we not know that, Scott?
I don't know. I don't know a lot of things.
We're supposed to be the.
I know all the books that came out. That a bunch of books came out talking about after the show.
That was
there is a continuity, a canon of after the show, and that. But I don't know how close it was to what they were planning.
There was a teaser trailer recently on, I think, in Twitter, or actually it's an Indiegogo page as well, so you can actually watch it. It's like a couple of minutes, and they talk about what they're gonna show in this documentary. And there's a writers' room for season 8, so they kind of spec it out what could happen, what could have happened in season 8.
Huh.
Apparently.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would not mind.
But we sort of know. I mean, don't we know what happened at least to Worf from because Nemesis came out way after the show ended.
Yeah, technically yes.
And I think we sort of get Voyager in some Voyager episodes. We see Troy and maybe Riker. Do we see Riker in Voyager?
We see Troy and Barclay, if I recall.
Troy and Barclay, and Geordi, I think.
And Geordi, right? I think he's on.
Yeah, he's in a future episode.
I mean, I remember the Dr. Humbert was saying that there are either comic books or in the books or something like that Commander Sisko actually does come back from.
Oh, I was telling you that.
Oh, you were telling me, not the Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he comes back in the comics. That's right.
And I do know actually, Deep Space Nine get destroyed at one point, and there's another one. So they rebuild the station.
Not the comic book Sohail, the novel.
Oh, sorry, the novels, right?
Yeah.
So we kind
I'm
of
not 10 years old, all right? I don't
Oh, wow.
I read books, not pictures.
You don't read comics?
I'm just kidding.
I knew that. I was going to say.
No, but these are particularly not. Yeah, and yes, Deep Space Nine was destroyed. And and I'm kind of not sure what happened after that. That was sort of where I left
Well,
the building.
that's like, yeah, what does happen after that? But I guess the season, I don't know. I feel like the show was such a nicely rounded, beautifully like it ended beautifully as far as I'm concerned, and I was satisfied with it. So I don't know, like, if I would have really cared about a season 8. I mean, like, you know, I don't know. Would you?
I thought you didn't remember the ending.
No, I do remember one. I told you I remembered generally how it ended, and I do remember that Cisco becomes one with the wormhole.
Yeah,
but you don't know all the other stuff, do you?
There's a lot of information that's just jumbled in my head or missing. Yeah, I'm discovering it. Whoa,
what's going on there?
I don't know.
Sorry, I apologize. I'm stirring a drink.
Okay.
Oh, nice. What kind of beverage are you making?
Chocolate milk.
Oh.
I'm putting chocolate syrup into milk. Sorry, guys. This will be done in 2 seconds.
It's a cool sound effect. I feel like we could use it for something in the future. When Deep Space Nine originally aired, it changed from CBS to UPN. Whoa, hold on.
Sorry, UPN guys. To CBS.
Wrong.
Or UPN.
Wrong.
What
oh, wait.
Wrong. No. Wrong.
Tell me. It went from syndication to UPN, didn't it?
No, it was always syndication. Voyager was UPN.
Oh.
Voyager was UPN's flagship show.
I'm okay, sorry. In my local market though, I remember Channel 33 or whatever picking up Deep Space Nine.
You remember a lot of things that didn't happen.
Oh, okay, maybe I have a lot of memories of things that might not have happened. Yeah. Anyways, the point is that in that first run, my viewing of it was somehow disjointed, and so I didn't actually watch Deep Space Nine fully until it came out on DVD, and it's been like 10 years since it came out, or since I last watched it. So watching it again with you, Scott, it's like discovering the show all over again for me in many ways.
Yes.
I think I watched it like 2 or 3 times overall, DS9. And I remember the first time when I was actually seeing the pilot episode. It was like literally 10 years ago. And I was looking at the TV guide, and the TV guide predicted Star Trek: The Next Generation. And we only had Voyager back then in the TV. And I was like, wow, okay, that's so cool. I can finally watch Star Trek: The Next Generation. And then the first episode was DS9. And I was like, what the hell? Why do I have to watch this stupid space station instead of The Next Generation? But then I was so judgmental. The show is brilliant, honestly. I fall in love after the first episode.
Yeah, it's true. It's that's how I felt originally watching it. I was really...
It's better than Next Generation.
I try not to make, any levels between the shows. For me, it's all in the same line.
Gary doesn't like comparisons, but yes, the show, in terms of its production and writing and some of the topics that it tackles and deals with, I will have to agree that in many ways it surpasses what the Next Generation was able to do.
In all ways.
That's as good as I can. That's because I love Star Trek: The Next Generation, so that's as close as you'll get to me admitting.
No, it's not, because we're rewatching it. You're gonna, by the end of this rewatch, you will now be seeing it all with adult eyes for the first time.
It's true.
And you will make the correct call at the end of it, which is to admit that it is a way, way, way better show than The Next Generation.
I look forward to that admission.
Yeah. By the way, have either of you guys seen Logan yet?
No. Did you go see Logan?
I did. You should. Patrick Stewart is fantastic.
We were on an offline conversation. We were just talking about how now that he's not doing X-Men anymore, maybe he'll come back to Star Trek. But I bet he's amazing. I think I might go see it this afternoon after we finish this hangout.
He curses a lot.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of there's a lot of just him yelling like "fuck off, Logan."
Really?
That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Fuck off.
Fuck off. Well, he sounds older than I do. Like, fuck off, Logan. Like,
interesting fact, actually, in a recent interview, he said he's going to play in the Emoji Movie. And he's got the role of the poop emoji.
What?
And he's so proud of it.
That's insane. It says...
I don't even want to know why they're making that movie or what the idea is.
Oh my god, there's Patrick Stewart. as the poop. This is great. Let me see if I can pop this on. This is a particularly good. Let me just get it on the screen. All right, you still can't see this, right, Scott?
No, nor can anyone else listening to this podcast.
Right, the podcast.
don't
That's true. Head on over to the Google and do a search for Patrick Stewart emoji movie, and you'll get some interesting results on the Google Images, which
yeah,
I feel like sending it to you, so I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so that's it. That's about it, I think, on the Star Trek Discovery doc. I knew very little about it. I could have sworn there was like some kind of contest or something, depending on how much you donated to it, where you could have a dinner with Nana Visitor. And I think one of our...
Why are you sending me this?
What, the poop?
It's a picture. So it's a picture of Patrick Stewart with the poop emoji just next to him, like superimposed on top of, like, it's not him as the poop emoji. I know what Patrick Stewart looks like, and I know what that emoji looks like. Why do you need to send me a picture of the two of them side by side? Like
you don't think that's something? That's one of the most elegant images ever in existence? Like, look at how
it's just him, and then
he looks
the poop emoji.
Look, I'm gonna start doing this.
Like when you said you were sending me a picture of him as, I thought it was going to be like him in makeup or something, or
no, it's a CG. It's a computer generated thing. He's just voicing.
I hope so.
He's gonna. that would be very interesting if Patrick Stewart actually.
Or maybe he's gonna generate the poop.
Oh God!
They're gonna actually use Patrick Stewart's actual poop.
Well, if both of you just head over to the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and actually he's in one segment, and he talks about the poop emoji and how it's been created. It's freaking hilarious.
Wow. We'll have to go check that out.
Well, you know how they like scan actors to make CGI versions of them for action scenes? What if they scanned his poop and used that as the basis for the CGI emoji thing?
Oh my goodness. Indeed.
Yeah.
Make it so.
Oh my God. Make it poo. Scott, do you know anything about Star Trek Discovery?
No. And as you know, I am spoiler free for all things like that are coming out in the future.
Right. So
I don't even watch trailers anymore.
Right. There's no more trailer. There hasn't been a new trailer.
Trailers.
There has been a new trailer, but I'm not going to tell you what was in it.
But I don't know it. So I think this is a good point for me to
jump off
and get back to Smallville.
Because then we can.
Lana is she's getting medical tests. She's about to find out that she was never actually pregnant. Lex injected her with some drug that faked a pregnancy so that she would marry him. You believe that shit?
That sounds pretty crazy.
She's about to find out, so I gotta go. You guys talk about Star Trek Discovery. I'll be very excited to listen to it later. And it was good chatting with you.
Have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
That was pretty fun. Okay, so I guess we could talk about Star Trek Discovery a little more freely now that Scott's... Oh, he's still there. He's just on mute. I'm going to eject him.
Can you do that?
Yeah, you can eject someone. It'll save us on bandwidth. Bye-bye. There, Scott's been ejected.
Wonder who pops in for the next segment.
Who knows? Who knows?
Exactly.
Star Trek Discovery. I think basically the latest information that hasn't already been covered, and the latest information that has been covered and that's been released is that we got a cool new, like a sizzle preview reel that just showed like a little bit of behind the scenes and a glimpse at the uniform, and then we also got a leak that showed possibly the Klingons in the episode. And then we also found out that the date has been pushed back, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we don't have a set date, but
not yet.
But some are speculating that it'll have a fall release, possibly September or October of this year, 2017. But there's no guarantee on that. So outside of that, I guess we could talk about what I'm curious to know is, do you think those are Klingons in the leaked photo? And if you do, how do you feel about the change? And I know you've already expressed your opinion, but if you don't mind doing it again.
Well, I still try to be so hopeful about the project and about the whole series. But seeing this picture and seeing the teaser trailer, what they actually released, like from the production it has begun, those, if they are Klingons, I already got quite a few comments on my video about the Klingons, and a lot of people dismiss it already. It's like there's one person who said, it's like, I'm a 40-year-old Star Trek fan. If those are Klingons, they finish with me. It's like it's a bit more complicated, I think. Maybe they have a good reason why those Klingons look as they look. I mean, they could be an ancient Klingon that someone suggested, and there been rumors, and maybe those Klingons are like from the Kahless era, and there was a leaked photo as well about the possible Klingon ship, a Klingon sarcophagus ship.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's a totally distant design, and it's a totally interesting thing. If they kind of match up the two together, maybe that's a distant ancient Klingon civilization, and they coming back to life somehow. But, no, I don't know if they're going to reboot the Klingons and they're going to give these creatures a chance to be Klingons. That's gonna be something else than Star Trek, I think.
That's really fascinating. Sarcophagus gives me, makes my mind kind of go to, what if these are like zombie Klingons? It's like, what if they're like, or as you said, an ancient Klingon.
The Botany Bay of the Klingon Empire.
I agree with you that I don't think there's enough information to dismiss the show. I don't even think there's enough information to know if those are actually Klingons or not. I mean, they do resemble Klingons a little, and I think, just that kind of the armor and everything kind of evokes Klingons, but these might not be Klingons. And I still haven't lost faith in, like, I've got to watch the pilot before I would pass my final judgment. However, if they are Klingons and they're not ancient Klingons,
then we're gonna have to rethink Star Trek, I think.
I think so. Which, fans have been kind of forced to do that before. It happened from the original series to Star Trek: The Motion Picture, and then even from Star Trek: The Motion Picture to Star Trek: The Next Generation. Worf's Klingon update was, it wasn't as dramatic, but it was different from what we saw in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. It was actually, sorry, he's around so he's close to, like, Star Trek. In Star Trek 3, we get an update. Like, all of a sudden,
Really?
Yeah. So if you look at the Klingons from Star Trek: The Motion Picture, they look really like weird. They have, like, kind of, they're like a little more animalistic looking.
Well, it's like Mark Leonard behind the mask anyway, so.
and they kind of like have this more, like monster like quality. And then in Star Trek 3, I almost thought that they looked, especially Christopher Lloyd's portrayal, like there was like, he spoke very, like, eloquently in a sense. They even gave him a Klingon accent, which was kind of a cool thing, like, and I thought that they were more developed and more refined. And then Worf continues to do that. And then in Star Trek 6, you discover that the ridges can be different, like how Worf's grandfather's ridges were very smooth and not as rough, so then we get another update in Kelvin, in Into Darkness, when we see the Klingons there, they still resemble Klingons, but they're very different from the Prime timeline Klingons. And I would say that that's probably why, that's what makes me kind of think of this leak as possibly being Klingons, because they have a hint of that Kelvin Klingon.
Hang on, that's another just ran over my mind, because those Klingons in the Kelvin timeline, they are much closer to the Klingons, to the motion picture or even Next Generation, than the TOS Klingons, and the Kelvin timeline movies are actually placed in the TOS era.
Right.
So they should have looked like as the normal crew members of the Enterprise. So just with some, because the augments and the genetic mutation is still happening.
Well, you could see the transition sort of here. I'm going to pull up a photo to share here for both of us to look at. Sorry for the podcast listeners, you can't see these images, but if you just do a Google search for, this is from Trek Core. So you can kind of see here on the left, you have the classic, here, present it. Sorry. Okay, on the left here, you have the classic series, the TOS Klingon. And, while they look very humanoid, you can kind of argue, because of the actor's forehead, that there's a little bit of a hint of a ridge or something like that. And then you have in the middle the Next Generation, or sorry, the original series.
Next Generation.
Yeah, but the original series movie / Next Generation look, which is a very it's dramatically different from the original series. And then if you look at the one in the Kelvin timeline, it's actually a hybrid between, it looks like the transformation is beginning, you know what I mean?
Could
and
be.
so one could argue,
well, yeah.
and it appears like, I can't tell, but it looks like they're wearing jewelry on their
I was kind of thinking about it. Maybe that's how they wanted to make themselves, more wild.
Yeah, I like that idea. Anyways, that's my point, is that the Klingons have transformed so many times, and so I don't know, if the Klingons are obsessed with genetic manipulation, which is something that they have been known to do, and it's possible that there's many different kinds of Klingons, just like there's Romulans and Remans, and things like that. So
it's not my concern is just if they wanted to reimagine a couple of things, and if they wanted to do different sort of direction from the original era, from the.
Sorry, I had a.
What? Oh, okay.
Go on.
So if they wanted to do something different, they should have gone into the Kelvin timeline and do something modern and do something crazy, because in the Kelvin timeline you have the freedom to create whatever you want because it's not really established and discovered yet. But if you're talking about the Prime timeline, where you have an established look and feel, you should do the same way, or at least similar, not just mess up with the whole continuity.
Yeah, it's true. But one could imagine, let's say that the Starship Discovery is some kind of experimental ship, which you wouldn't know from the designation, because usually there's an NX designation, and I think this is an NCC ship. But anyways, if it were some kind of experimental ship, let's say that it could it had transdimensional warp, or even like temporal warp drive or something like that, and it's a part of a secret project or whatever. Maybe something goes wrong and they end up in an alternate timeline anyways. I mean, there's so many. That's the thing, is that there's so many.
Could be a third alternate timeline.
It could be a third alternate timeline. The whole show could be about traveling through dimensional place, through dimensions, basically. Maybe they get lost in dimensions and they're trying to get back to their dimension. Like there's all kinds of interesting things you can do that have never been done in Star Trek before. Really.
I just had a really stupid idea now. But the Klingons, if they are Klingons, because everyone thinks about maybe these are ancient Klingons or they genetically mutated Klingons. What if they are the Klingons of the future?
Yeah, or that. Yeah.
It could be.
It could be. It's true.
Because
it could be
they
that.
look very, very, dangerously dangerous. They're like so.
I do think that. Excuse me. I have a little under the weather. I do think that the Klingons look more ancient, though. I could see that the armor looks like they're still, they're not really fighting with disruptors necessarily. They're more battle hungry, type of Klingons.
But then, in TNG and even DS9, when they have Klingon episodes, you can actually more in DS9, because of Worf and Dex and the other lines, but you can see pictures and you can see actually scenes when they are in Kronos or ancient Klingons like from the Kahless era. But you reckon it's even back, way back.
Yeah, I would reckon, again, pure imagination and speculation here, but just based on the production design, if those are in fact Klingons, I would say that it hints at something ancient. The design just feels more ancient than it does futuristic. I would think that like a futuristic Klingon would have an armor that kind of evolved from what we're used to seeing in Next Gen, and I didn't get that impression. I saw it as like a retro, like it's a full armor. It looks like it's like, so it feels more retro to me. Whereas I would also think that like, already you could see in Star Trek: The Next Generation, the armor has metal features, but a lot of it is just like a fabric or a cloth that you could tell is probably resistant to impacts, but not. It's technical. It's more, futuristic in that way, and Klingons do seem to be able to take quite a wallop from a blaster, or from not blaster, but from a phaser blast. I think in the Star Trek: The Next Generation episode in season 2, A Matter of Honor, is it, or I forget which one, but the one where I forget the name, but the one where the 3 Klingons come aboard the Enterprise and they do the death ceremony. And
yes.
If I'm not mistaken, they're actually like, it takes quite a few phaser stun setting blasts to get a Klingon to go down. So. Part of that's their own physiology, and part of it is their resistance, probably with the armor that they're wearing. Yeah. So this armor, just doesn't seem as technical as the Next Generation. And I would just imagine, and also future Klingons, while they could appear like that could explain their facial, their head and their facial structure differences. I would think they would like grow from what's already established also, and so maybe they would have like cool crests and horns and stuff like that, coming off of their like bigger displays of, because you imagine that the Klingons' forehead is kind of like how deer and like other animals would like front things
could be
kind of present. It's like probably a way to be attractive to females. It's also probably a way to show your dominance. Like a stag that has like 12 points is a much more older and more prominent one. So I would imagine that a Klingon that has like certain facial features in Klingon culture is a more attractive or more strong, viewed as more strong, but depending on their head.
Well, one of my friends actually said after seeing the picture, they could have just actually waiting for hair makeup or something, because they didn't have any hair. So maybe that's just
exactly.
happened to have a snapshot during the makeup session or something.
So outside of all of that speculation, it was cool to see a little something of Star Trek Discovery. The other thing we got was the badge. There was a glimpse at the uniform and a badge, and I think it's interesting that it has the the Delta thing, because
it's divided as well at one point.
It's divided, so if I remember correctly from the original series, that particular logo was that particular design that you see more there is pretty exclusive to the Enterprise, but then in the movies it becomes all of Starfleet standardizes to this actually eventually. But in the show, different ships had different insignias that they wore. So I wonder what that means. Like why Star Trek Discovery's insignia would be so similar to the Enterprise one.
I'm not sure if we talked about this or with the doctor said it or I just read it somewhere, but actually I remember the fact. The insignia supposed to be the same all the time, but back then it was a production mistake, so they didn't use the same for every starship. So they thought, okay, they didn't get any guidelines. Okay, how to do it, guys? They just had to make it up. So actually, they made it by mistake. It was a production mistake. That's the explanation for having too many deltas in too many for different starships in the original series. That's one thing, but I don't know who I'm discussed with, but I definitely discussed it with someone, and
that sounds pretty cool. And
oh yeah,
here's the patches, for the different ships, I think. But you can see there's the USS Enterprise one, the classic one that we know.
Yes, which evolved actually to the normal Starfleet insignia.
Mm-hmm. The Intrepid must have had a Vulcan crew because that looks like the IDIC symbol.
Or must have had Vulcan parts in the ship as well.
Yeah. Or later, that's just how they evolved. They took this and turned it into the IDIC symbol, and I thought the Defiant's a pretty interesting one. So I would have liked it if the Discovery if they had kind of followed along this lines, and it would have been neat if the Discovery actually had a different insignia altogether. I think that would have been something.
It's interesting to you put up this picture because the fan series they came out. There's actually an Exeter story and there's a Farragut story as well, and both of them they use the same patches, so they kind of get the consistency from the they got the idea from the original patches, so they didn't use the normal chevron. It's kind of interesting they got the honor for using the original, what they actually designed for the show. Well, designed for the show, yes, but by mistake, as they said before.
Right, and again, just a little detail that makes me wonder: where is Discovery? Like, where does it take place? Is it just a ruse that it takes place 10 years before Kirk? Although Sarek being cast tells me no, it's not a ruse. So it is official that Sarek is in there, so that kind of throws a little thing in there. So that's actually a question I've been thinking a lot about is like, what is Sarek's place in this? I didn't even think of him as, it's interesting that he would even be involved until Spock is in Starfleet. So I know he's an ambassador. I wonder if he's an ambassador at this time. I can't remember.
I think he should be because it's only 10 years and Spock is already in the Enterprise under Christopher Pike.
Oh, that's right. So Spock's already serving. Right. You're absolutely right. So yeah, it's a little strange to have Sarek in it and cool. And, again, if Discovery is like a secret mission or if it's like an experimental mission, maybe Sarek's there because who better to have along with you than the Vulcans in case something goes wrong, so the Vulcan Science Commission maybe sent Sarek and said, hey, they're doing crazy stuff with dimensions or temporal stuff. You need to be there to like just like in Enterprise, how the Vulcans kind of had this like fatherly or like relationship, maybe that they still do in this sense, and Sarek will be the voice of ethics and reason and logic that we need, when we're doing all these crazy experiments.
Could be,
but
that does affect anything can be. I mean, the last thing what we haven't got actually is the story. Right. Is everyone talking about the ships already, like Discovery? Actually, we didn't really got any news from Discovery yet, and I mean, it's the ship itself, but everyone talking about the Shenzhou or Shenzhou, I don't know how to pronounce them, but there's three different pronunciation already going around. Everyone started to call it Shenzhou, and then no, it's Zhenzhou, and it's like, okay. But anyhow, so there's more talk about the ships and the Klingons than the actual story, and this is actually something what I'm still missing, and I hope they're going to say something, not just like this last announcement from the CBS head Mendes. when he said, it's like, okay, if I'm predicting an early fall arrival for Discovery, but then a couple of months ago, actually like a month ago, Doug Jones had an interview and he said it will be around September. That's what he knows. So it's like wasn't really new things what actually they said from CBS officially, but still, I would really interested to know what's the story itself, because that could explain a lot of things. Why the Klingons, if they are Klingons, have to look like that? What with the Discovery's strange design, or why the Shenzhou looks as it is? If that's the Shenzhou, maybe it could be a different ship. What's up with the uniforms as well? I don't know if you noticed about the uniforms. They are quite different from the era.
Yeah, I did notice that. But I also thought they had echoes of the era. There was like gold braiding I thought I saw. Here, let me see if I can pull up an image of it. Let's see. Come on, Google. Don't let me down. Here we go. This is pretty much all you get of it. Okay, I'm going to share this here. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the little teaser we get of the uniform. And so that's definitely like science, so the blue, right? It looks like it has a collar.
It does.
Is there a wider shot of it that you've seen that shows the collar?
I think just before this one, actually.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like it has a collar and then this braiding over here, this like, these like details here. That kind of reminds me a little bit of the dress uniforms in the original.
That was my thought as well at the beginning. It could be the dress uniform. But then, exactly because the golden stripe sits in the shoulder section, not really in the end of the uniform.
Right.
But still, it's not as much information as we could actually get from this. And someone actually pointed out there's a science insignia, but a science uniform, but it looks like there's an engineering insignia in the science uniform. So it, yeah.
And there's the Klingon armor.
Supposedly Klingon armor.
Supposedly. But see, it's like not necessarily Klingon. It doesn't have to be Klingon. Like I don't recognize the sash is something that's always been a part of Klingon uniforms, more or less. So I don't know.
But have you ever thought about that? Maybe they are Klingons, but that's one of my theory. I could be wrong, but just a hypothetical mind melding. Could they actually be a subrace for the Klingons?
Yeah, absolutely. They could be. I mean, there's all kinds of things they,
It's just like technically Romulans are subrace for the Vulcans.
Right.
Technically. I mean, way back, but
I think that's totally possible because we get we have another example of that with the Mintakans in TNG just recently. So yeah, it makes sense. There's so many humanoids out there and Klingons have been traveling through space for a long time. There's and they don't have the same prime directive necessarily that the Federation does. So there's absolutely a possibility that Klingons have mated with other species and created new versions of Klingons and things like that. So yeah, I do think that that's a possibility. But typically, again, we don't even know if they're Klingons. But if they are Klingons, it still doesn't answer the question to the timeline that's proposed.
Yes.
Why? I also think that the Romulans, would be great, but of course you can't have the Romulans yet either because it's very firmly established that we get them for the first time in Balance of Terror and that they were gone for like a long time, and then again in Next Generation they've been hibernating for a long time, and they come back in the Next Generation.
Unless if they are Romulans and then they have a disguise.
Right, it's true. It's just the classic pull the mask off and there you go.
They are the gender of the Romulan Empire, right?
So, you brought up a great point. We don't even have a story yet. So to me, I feel it's just pure imagination and speculation at this point. So my
This is
way
what's
of
going on, true.
my way of rationalizing what I'm seeing is that I'm predicting that there's going to be some kind of temporal plot or temporal storyline, or a dimensional, even a trans-dimensional storyline, and that's the only thing I can come up with that helps me to rationalize what I've seen so far from Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, exactly, and we still have to think about the fact there's a lot of people works on this project, and most of them like Star Trek, and most of them are Star Trek fans. The other people, but more money orientated, but still that slightly bigger amount of people who like Star Trek, they know what fans like, and I hope they're not gonna not try to screw up the whole timeline and the whole universe with this new series, because if they do, they will literally kill the franchise with it if they screw up.
Yeah, well, I don't know that they'll kill the franchise because
I mean, I mean, talking about the future of Star Trek. I mean,
Yeah.
that what if we have is already established and it's there. No one gonna get it out from us. So
yeah, that's true. I think what I do agree with is that it would be hard for me to watch a show that totally radically changes what we know about that era of Star Trek, and take it seriously from a fan perspective. But at the same time, the J.J. Abrams did a brilliant job in changing everything, but giving you a very rational explanation as to why everything was changed. So if that rational explanation of all these changes is somehow presented, and I can suspend my already suspended disbelief even further, then I can see that I would have no problem watching it. And I want to say that I have a lot more confidence. At first, I was wondering if the production was even gonna get off the ground at all, but with all the announcements like Michelle Yeoh and all these things, and Anthony Rapp is tweeting about it, and stuff, so it gives me a little, and production's definitely started, so it gives me a little bit more hope or comfort knowing that a show's actually being made. Like that was my whole thing, was like, how are you going to get a show done from like June or July to whatever it was last time? It was like November or December, right? It was a short amount of time, and I was like, what's going on here? It just doesn't make sense. And now it feels, I think I'm sharing your sentiment here, that you stated on your channel, whereas like I don't mind waiting for something. I've already waited like I don't know how many years Star Trek's been off the air, off of television. So I don't mind waiting a little longer. I just, I just hope it's really, really good.
Yeah, exactly. That's all what we have to do. Wait, and I mean we've been patient for quite a long time. It's like 12 years since Enterprise finished, and there was technically the Kelvin timeline movies, but you can't count on those.
Well, they're just like they're a cool, fun way of reintroducing Star Trek to people, and also I think one great thing about the Kelvin movies is that they've brought a lot of interest into Star Trek, and
that's true.
And I think that more and more people are going deeper and discovering, oh, there's more to this. Like, what is this all about? And I think that, ultimately, I'm a firm believer that Star Trek does enrich your life. If you watch it, it definitely is thought provoking and gets you to think about things. And it's a good, template for humanity, if you will. Like if you want to know what it's like, if nothing's left of humanity, and future archaeologists discover Star Trek and start watching it, and they're like, whoa, was this what humanity was like? That's not a bad.
And let's recreate this whole feeling, and there we have Galaxy Quest.
Exactly. I love that. That's so funny. All right, cool. Well, I think that's all we can really say about Star Trek Discovery. Is just I'm still excited.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we just have to wait and see. That's the best. Exactly. Hopefully we will get a trailer for little glimpse of the production or something again
Absolutely,
in this month and the end of the month. CBS, if you're listening, please.
Yeah, that'll be exciting, and hopefully it'll tell us a little bit more about the story. I do
Yeah.
recall when I was a kid, I remember being in elementary school and seeing the first kind of teaser for Star Trek: The Next Generation, and it was
Wow.
like it was it was even less than what we got for Star Trek Discovery. It was just like already footage from like Star Trek 2 of the Genesis planet, panels from the Excelsior from Star Trek 3, like animations, and then just like an announcement. And it's just like that was it. And I don't even
It's like,
remember.
don't give away anything, but there's something.
There's something coming. So we didn't know what the story. I don't think I recall knowing what the story was going to be about or anything. Like we knew by Star Trek: The Next Generation that it was going to take place in the future, and I think that later, the press releases went into it in a little bit more in detail. But it was very vague. So I think that like that's probably going to be the case with Discovery until that next big trailer comes out, and they're still announcing cast members, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, and even now with Discovery, we got more than we got with Enterprise. I'm not sure if you remember what then Enterprise started to reveal itself. They just had like teasers like star fields and war fields and before Janeway, before Kirk, before Cisco, Enterprise coming soon. And there's nothing in there, just like before Janeway, before Kirk, before Cisco, before Picard. There's something else.
And
wait.
It's true.
So we got more with Discovery than we got with Enterprise at the beginning.
It's true, and I do believe that these days you can get a lot of misdirection, and it's intentional from studios. Like, I think that the studios have figured out that a great way to like, and it's an interesting strategy because it could fail you. Because if you like the misdirection better than the actual what it actually is about, then but.
True, you remember? I'm pretty sure you remember the first trailer for Star Trek Beyond back then.
Oh yeah, it totally.
Gosh, everyone was so outraged. Like, what the hell is this? I mean, this is like Fast and Furious. Why are they doing this? It's like nothing to do with Star Trek. And then even Simon Pegg was like, wait, please wait, because that's nothing to do with the movie. It's just a commercial for before Star Wars. Like, yeah, we are there. But then a couple of weeks or months later, the second trailer came out, and that was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a lot better.
And the movie turned out really well. So I hope that's the kind of situation what will happen with Discovery too. So we get misdirection, as you said, and then at the end we will get a kick-ass production.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope that's what I'm gonna say in my first Discovery video when I'm the first review of the first episode. Yay!
Likewise, I hope so too. All right, I think that about covers everything that's new in Star Trek. Is there anything else exciting and new that you know about in the world of Star Trek?
Oh, maybe the Spock resurrection.
Oh yeah.
We talked a bit off camera. Yeah, I mean, there was just a rumor if for the fourth Kelvin timeline movie they could actually resurrect Spock, and I just read the interview. I read the article, and there was a little segment with Adam Nimoy, and he actually stated he wouldn't mind seeing his father recreated, resurrected in a future movie. Because according to what he said in Rogue One, they did a beautiful job with Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher being in the movie. It's a spoiler, I'm pretty sure, because I didn't see the movie.
Oh, you didn't see Rogue One? Okay.
No, I didn't see Rogue One. I'm still waiting for the movie to actually the time to watch it. But yeah, but that's kind of interesting. I mean, would you like to see Spock in a future Star Trek movie?
Yeah, I was on the other. A lot of people were outraged about the Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher recreations in Rogue One, and there was a little bit of a controversy about it. And even the right holder to Peter Cushing's image, his former secretary, she said, "Well, I agreed to it, but when I actually went and saw the movie, it was a very emotional experience because it was strange, like to see him resurrected, and it's not, obviously it's an interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were diving into the nuances, like Peter Cushing wouldn't raise his eyebrow this way, or he wouldn't curl his lip a certain way, or whatever.
Nitpickers.
It's not Peter Cushing. It's a digital recreation, and it's a group of artists that are trying their best to interpret Peter Cushing. But I don't see it as any different as recasting. In fact, I see it as better, because I would prefer the likeness of the character to remain faithful to the character. And it is a unique situation, because in Star Trek, none of the characters are all young enough that you can say, oh yeah, they probably look like that when they were that age, like the actual Kelvin Spock and the Kelvin Kirk, they're younger than they were on the original series. So you can buy they're recast. You can kind of go, okay, yeah, I get it. But with Prime Spock, being so and just Leonard like I thought the way that they said they weren't gonna recast Chekhov, Anton Yelchin.
Yes.
I thought it would be just the same. Like, they already established in the movie that Ambassador Spock, is dead.
Yeah, he passed away. So
he passes away in Beyond. So I didn't see that there was any reason to bring him back. But if there is another way to, like, if maybe Prime Spock from a younger timeline,
gosh, that's
or movie era Prime Spock, so who knows, like
that's a very vivid wobbly timey-wimey situation.
But Kelvin timeline's already screwed up, so whatever, like, let's just throw it in.
Let's just open another temporal rift and bring more guys from the other side of the universe.
Yeah. As a fan, I was delighted to see Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One. It was very important. So if they come up with a good reason to have Spock in another Kelvin Star Trek movie, then I'm all for it. And I love the idea of a computer generated avatar for Leonard Nimoy. So it would be cool, in my opinion. What I would like to see more than anything, I think I've established this, is I want William Shatner, Nichelle Nichols, Walter Koenig. I want all of them to come back to Star Trek somehow.
Well, one more time.
And I don't even care if they don't play their characters. Like, it'd be great to have William Shatner or any of them on George Takei, by the way. I didn't mention him.
Oh yeah.
But it would be great to have any of them as a character on Discovery, just to have them as actors acting out other characters, like how Brent Spiner was in Enterprise.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure everyone would love to see an Admiral Sulu in Star Trek 4.
Yeah, it would be amazing.
An ancient, grizzled Admiral Sulu.
Yeah. So what if the final chapter of the Kelvin? Because I don't think that they're going to make these Kelvin movies forever. I mean,
no,
I just don't see the cast as devoted as the original series cast was.
No, I don't think so.
But I don't know. You never know. I mean, like, who knows if there's enough demand from the fans? Like, how can you say no to that, right?
There was an idea back then, just about before Nemesis and after Voyager. There was an idea. I'm not sure if it was everywhere, but we kind of thought it would be nice to have a multiverse, a multi-franchise, multi-Star Trek feature movie. So cast members from different Star Trek series, they are all together and they do some fun stuff in a screen for an hour and a half. That would be super cool. I mean, you imagine a ship with Robert Picardo in, or you have Brent Spiner, you have Lieutenant Worf, you have Benjamin Sisko, you have, I don't know, some different people from different starships, and the finest of the Federation, they just go and save the situation or something.
Yeah. That's what the Doctor, the last time we did Starfleet Boys Log, it was like back in October, and at the time we were talking about sort of the state of the 50th anniversary and things like that.
Oh yeah, I listened to that one recently.
Yeah. And he really wanted a special, like a like what you just described, like something like what Doctor Who did with the 50th anniversary for Doctor Who, where there was a special and stuff like that. And I agree with them. I'm like, why not? Like, who cares? Like, it's gonna be really well received. It's like a gift to the fans. Fans certainly deserve.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like totally worth it. I bet it would sell like gangbusters. And I'm sure with all the talent behind Star Trek, it wouldn't be that hard to come up with a story that's like interesting and feasible, and a production that would be worthy of what we expect from Star Trek these days. So I think that would have been neat. And going back to they can't do the Kelvin movies forever, I feel like it'd be great if I also talked to you about this offline, if it was a dream I had, but why not? Like, what if
why not?
what if this whole temporal thing goes out of control and it's like a temporal crisis, right? And so Captain Kirk comes back somehow, and then Captain Picard and the whoever the present day crew of the Enterprise E comes back in time and resets the Kelvin timeline, and it's just like this epic finish to the Kelvin story. That would be a really neat thing, I think.
Or even the USS Titan with Captain Riker on board.
Oh yes, that would be
go back to when the Neroda came to destroy the cabin just before, and just destroy Neroda with the iconic fire. And everything is back to normal.
Fire. It's so true. I can't even do a good impression of it, but I think the Wolf 359 episode where that cliffhanger.
Oh yeah, that's one epic cliffhanger. And that's the other thing. That would have been a good series too. Captain Riker.
Yeah, and it's still feasible. I mean, Marina Sirtis could definitely reprise. They both could be great.
Absolutely. I mean, and they don't necessarily have to play right after Nemesis. They can like have a 15-year gap. Like, we have an established ship, we have an established crew, and now we're facing a big situation. And they kind of both, they don't really have to wear that much makeup because they're kind of cool as they are.
Yeah. All that being said, now that the 50th is kind of wrapped up, I have to say I don't feel as disappointed as I did in the middle of it at the time that we had the first Starfleet Boys log. I do feel a little bit more like, at the end of the day, like I do feel satisfied more or less as a fan, but I would have loved that adventure, something like that, just something that kind of like celebrated Star Trek in an epic kind of way. And I would have been happy with a documentary about it, from Paramount or whatever, just like kind of covering everything. It'd be really neat. But it looks like, Adam Nimoy is making really great documentaries, and he might, who knows what he's going to do after DS9 doc. Certainly For the Love of Spock was a beautiful personal tribute to his father, and I loved it. I did. And like Gul DuSkat's Afraid of, I did cry. It was a very emotional thing, and I think he's going to handle the Deep Space Nine documentary with the same kind of love for Star Trek. And it might be a different tone, of course, but it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I wouldn't mind if Adam Nimoy, I trust him with Star Trek, so I think it would be great if he continued to do more and more documentaries, and there should be one that covers all of Star Trek. I think it's time to get
it would be super nice.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember the Trekkies 1 and Trekkies 2 with Dennis Crosby. That was fabulous. I mean, every time I watch the first one, I always get I don't know, I have the flame for Star Trek still. It's an ongoing stuff. It's not gonna, just burn out or something. But that even makes it stronger. Every time when I watch it, I know it's like 20 years old now, but it still makes me believe things are exactly the same. Of course, it's not really, because it's more commercial now. But gosh, that was the best era. The 90s and the 90s were the best era. I still miss it, honestly. Series came out after each other, like TNG overlapping DS9 and DS9 overlapping Voyager, and then right after Voyager that was the Enterprise, and you had Star Trek all ongoing.
It was a huge time.
Yeah, and a lot of commercial, a lot of merchandising, everything was just so perfect.
It was, but much like everything in the 90s, I feel like what happened was they fatigued audiences with so much Star Trek. It was just
that could be, yeah.
And not not me or you probably, because we're just kind of like, oh my god, give me more. You know, it's like the only,
Yeah.
you know, we're not necessarily like crazy about too many things. But for me, Star Trek, it's like, oh, just give me all you can, like, you know. But not everyone's like that. So, but I think that was a golden you know, time. It was kind of the pinnacle, because it's true. After that, Star Trek kind of like decline, and you know, all you had was like the reruns, and like, you know, you didn't even have a new movie except for the, you know, Next Generation films, which again, also Nemesis didn't do well. I like Nemesis, but it didn't
I
do
love
well.
Nemesis.
Yeah, it didn't do well in the box office. So it was a declining time for Star Trek, and so now we're seeing Star Trek rise again. And I do have to say, you know, the Kelvin movies probably have a lot to do with that. So, you know,
Yeah,
they
no,
deserve
that's
that
true. I
credit.
mean, we can hate J.J. Abrams what he did with Star Trek, but we can actually be grateful for him, because if he is not doing those movies, I don't know, things could be different
Well,
today.
yeah, and I don't even hate him for it, because again, there's a
No,
rap.
I don't
Yeah,
hate either.
yeah.
But then a lot of people hates
Hey,
what's
yeah,
done
but
with
there's
Star
a
Trek.
yeah, there's a very good in movie experience. I mean, like, it's pretty brilliant, because not only did they acknowledge that they establish it's an alternate timeline, but they bring Spock. He represents us as fans
Yes.
into the Kelvin universe, and they're just like saying, well, Spock, this is his last adventure. He got lost in time, basically. So like, in from the Next Generation perspective, they're just like, you know, Ambassador Spock, you know, died in an accident with a supernova. You know,
Yeah.
like, in his timeline, he, you know, that's his last mission. And here we are as fans, we're like, you know, it's like a cool thought experiment gone crazy. It's like, what happened to Spock? Oh, well, this is what happened to him. And by the way, here's also the repercussions of what happened when he goes there. Because essentially, if you look at, you know, the most recent, you know, the most what is it, popular theories about what happens when you travel back in time, you're actually creating a brand new dimension. Like, you can never go back to
the exact same timeline where you came from.
right, and that timeline goes on without
Wow.
you. So
Wow.
that timeline goes on without you, and then you're done. The only person, like, that's the whole thing. Even Doctor Who kind of addresses that. It's like, every time you interact with the past, you're changing the future. So when the Doctor goes to the future, it's not the future. It's not the future he thought he was going to go back. It always change. There's always a difference somehow. So you can't
So once you
ever
leave your own time, you definitely lost.
because
Technically, you
yeah,
won't be able to go back.
because you, as the time traveler, have knowledge of the change. No one else does. In that, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, you're gone.
But
It's
what
done.
about Back to the Future?
It's it's the same. They're actually in a different dimension, but everything's very different, or just slightly different. That's the whole thing, is, can you minimize your impact? If you can minimize your impact when you go back to the future, you're still in a different dimension, but it's very much like what you left. Do you know what I
Oh
mean?
gosh, yeah.
But it's still not it's still not what you left. Like, once you leave, yeah, it's mine.
I just had Captain Janeway in my head at the moment. It's like, oh, temporal courses and temporal things. It's just give me a headache.
They do. It's because it defies what we know as reality. But if you think about it from that, it makes sense. It's like, when if you look at, like, you know, time travel as a disruption, which it is, like, anything if you go into the past. Now, if you're going to the future, it's the future of what you where you came from. So it's all unknown to you, and you can go back to the past, and now you can influence the future and change it. So yeah, it's
Wibbly
like
wobbly timey wimey.
wibbly wobbly timey wimey. It's true. So it's better to travel to the future than it is to the past, because if you travel to the past, you could change everything. Which, as soon as the Narada comes through, immediately there's an explanation for the accelerated technology and everything, because uh, you know, if something that huge and technologically advanced came above our skies, you can bet that humanity would put all its resources in, and let's say like there was a devastating event where the Narada came to Earth and like started drilling a hole in our planet, and it didn't succeed, but we were like, oh crap, now what if that thing comes back? We're gonna have to be ready for it,
Yeah.
That's
I started
essentially
prepare and
right. So essentially, all the advances that you see like are totally there's a great. That's why it's so wonderful, because you're like, well, the Enterprise looks way more advanced than even in the next generation. Well, yeah, because after the Narada, Starfleet and the Federation are like, damn, there's this like crazy new threat. We need to like focus all of our energy on meeting it. So you have a huge new, like the Enterprise 1701 in Kelvin timeline is bigger than the Enterprise D.
yeah.
So it's like all these things kind of hint at like how the Narada itself changed the path of what we knew. And what's wonderful is we know what was supposed to be as fans, because we are very intimate with the Prime timeline. So when we watch the Kelvin timeline, it's interesting. It's like, oh, that's different, and why? Like it's kind of a cool thing for me, anyways.
Yeah. At least it's explained, and we accept it. Well, most of us accept it. So
Yeah, I like the rational explanation. So Star Trek Discovery, whatever you do, I'm okay with it as long as there's a rational,
yeah.
explanation.
But as we talked about it, we just have to wait and see.
Yep.
And who knows?
So yeah, at the end of the day, I as a fan probably had more expectations from the 50th on a different level than what was delivered. Because I wanted to see specials and like, a documentary and things like that. But on the other hand, there was quite a nice celebration of the 50th with all the conventions and all the cast members getting involved. And certainly now, even after the 50th is over, with this, the DS9 doc and all this interest in Star Trek and Star Trek Discovery, I feel like the 50th was successful in the sense that it kind of
it's carried on everything.
It's carrying everything on. So I'm looking forward to I guess the next big anniversary will be the 60th.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Actually, this year, the 30th anniversary of TNG.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
a big thing. And actually, I remember Marina Sirtis said in the Birmingham convention last year, and the 50th one when I happened to attend, it's like, oh, maybe the original Star Trek is 50, but TNG will be 30 next year. So wrap around that one.
Yeah,
like, oh, okay.
That's
She's very proud. She's very proud. And
yeah, and if a 20-year difference from one generation to the next, that's exciting. Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. So yeah, state of Star Trek is pretty good as far as I'm concerned. And
well, that's state of Star Trek in terms of next generation original series, definitely. But I was kind of disappointed like 3 years ago when DS9 celebrated their 20th, and there wasn't anything. 2 years ago, the 50th was the 15th for the Voyager, and then a couple of years ago, the 10th for also in 2015, that was the 10th. Yes, for Enterprise. No one ever said anything about these three series, so I'm kind of disappointed CBS and Paramount don't put any effort to celebrate these series as well, because I think they earn the credit to have some sort of a memory kept for us, for the people who actually love those series.
Yeah.
And not to mention the lost non-canon animated series too.
I agree with you. But I think that like what was neat about the 50th is that I did feel there was an inclusion of all of Star Trek. So it was a good way to bring light back to these series. But certainly I hope when DS9 turns 30, there should be a celebration.
There will be more, yeah.
Because I don't remember there being too much of a celebration for TNG's 10th,
no.
10th or anything like that. So, maybe 30 is the first...
maybe for the 10th, not, but the 25th, that definitely was a big thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember 25. And the 30th, I'm pretty sure they're going to be a big hit too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I'm looking forward to more. I think that's it. We covered everything for this. I really appreciate you coming on to my captain's log.
Well,
here.
I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode discussion, which we'll be resuming pretty soon. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Live long and prosper, and I'll see you next time.
Live long and prosper.